So welcome to some first thoughts on Ghostwire Tokyo, a game that's exclusive for PS5 and for PC, but in a year's time, it's supposed to come to Xbox. And I gotta say, these are my first thoughts, first impressions, no spoilers in the game, and I wanna say something. I wanna say something up front right now. This game was not on my radar. I had seen it mentioned a few times in the PlayStation showcase, and I was like, okay, this looks interesting, kind of strange. A game that takes place in Tokyo, a bit creepy, a bit weird, a bit of a budget title looking game. You know, that's what I thought going in. And I really didn't think it'd be one that I would be talking about, especially today. And so, anyways, what happened is Bethesda reached out to me and said, do you want to do a preview on this game? And I'm like, and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna like this game, so I don't think I'm gonna do it, because I only, as many of you know, I only want to try to review and talk about games that I think I'm gonna enjoy. And this game, I didn't think I was gonna enjoy, so I nearly passed it up, and I really thought about it for a few days, and I'm like, let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. Let's give it some first impressions and see what it has to offer. So I started to play the game, and I'm like, I don't know. The whole way through, I'm going, I don't know if this game is for me. So let's start with the storyline with no spoilers here. Is obviously it takes place in Tokyo, and all of the citizens of Tokyo have gone missing in this mysterious fog that's stretching out through the city. And you kind of wake up and you're going, what's going on? What's happened to the city? What's happened to me? You have all of these powers inside of you, and you're trying to traverse the city, you're trying to find your sister and figure out what has happened to you. And as you're walking around Tokyo, you're running into these ghostly apparitions, and you're getting into combat with them. They're attacking you, and you're like, what is going on? And you can shoot spiritual energy out of your hands, and then you can kind of break the defensives of the enemies and split them. That's pretty cool. I really like the combat. It's a first-person combat. I gotta explain kind of what the game is. It's a first-person action-adventure game with some horror elements. And that's why I was like, I don't know if I want to talk about this game, because it's so strange. I don't know if it's going to be my kind of thing. And as I start to play the game, it started to grow on me more and more and more. And as I realized, it wasn't just like a budget title. The problem is we're coming in, after playing Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West, AAA games, and then this game comes out, and it doesn't have that style of graphics. That's what we have to say. But there's a lot going on here within the gameplay. So you can attack the enemies, break the enemies, you can defend against the enemies, and you can upgrade your character by going around the city and saving the spirits of the humans. And it's really strange. You suck them into a paper doll, you bring them back into that, and then you take them to a payphone, and then you bring them back into the real world. Yes, this is a thing, and this is why this game was so surreal to me at first. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. What is going on? And it is a very surreal storyline. It's a very surreal experience. You're running around fighting all these ghosts. You're saving humans, bringing them back into the real world, where there's this demon character who's controlling it all. You're doing an investigation within the city to find out what's really going on with yourself, with the demon, and Tokyo in general. And there's a bit of an investigation story in there. And that's what kind of elevates the game from just being a simple action game where you're just shooting monsters and demons in the city. There's a little bit more going on with the storyline. And yes, by saving characters throughout the city, you'll get points to be able to use to upgrade your character. And there's a lot. There's a big skill tree here that you can go through to upgrade whatever you want to do. You also have other weapons that you can use. There's a bow and arrow you can use. You can use a grappling hook. You can also jump. There's a lot of ways to traverse Tokyo, and it starts to open up. And one of the big things to do as well is to do missions, to get to a shrine, unlock the shrine, to open up the city. It's kind of like Shin Megami Tensei, where you had to defeat the abscesses and to open up the rest of the map. That's exactly what's going on here with the shrines. And that's the thing, certain sections of Tokyo are held off using fog. You go into the fog, you'll die. You want to go to the shrine and unlock the shrine. It'll get rid of that fog and open up the city. And that is how you get around and do everything. How is the feeling of this game? What does it kind of give you in the end of the day while you're playing it? It's interesting. You really get suckered into this mysterious Tokyo with all these spirits and all these demons, and you have your powers and you're going around, and it's creepy. Some of it's really, really surreal and weird. And you do get sucked into the world. Yes, I've got to say, the graphics are good, but they're not AAA good. Know that going in, but you have a nice frame rate at times, which is really nice, and going around and exploring is a lot of fun. And yes, the graphics for this game kind of work for the style of game, but know this, if you're coming in after Elden Ring or Horizon Forbidden West, you may be a little disappointed here. I think the one thing is, you won't be disappointed with the style of gameplay and going around Tokyo. It's really interesting, and how they kind of flip certain sections on you is really fascinating and kind of keeping with that horror element that they have, but it's not all horror. I think the game originally, from what I found out, was originally supposed to be a survival horror game, and they kind of changed it and made it a bit more action adventure. And I think it kind of works in that regard. I enjoy going around Tokyo and exploring and unlocking it. Now I gotta ask, are some of you guys looking forward to this game? As I say, it wasn't even on my radar, but I thought, you know what? I'll come in and do some impressions for the show for all of you guys who are interested in this game. Because I was one of these guys coming in with having no expectations at all. And I think there's a good experience here, for sure. There's been a lot of work put into the game. There's a lot going on, and I think it's a lot of fun in that regard. I must admit, the investigation side of it raises the bar for me. If it was just going around Tokyo, shooting monsters and demons, as I say, that would be an okay game. But I like the investigation. I like the storyline that's there. I like the creepiness. I like the designs. I like the designs of the demons, of the monsters, of the spirits. We'll say, I like all of that. I love going around in first person, blasting these enemies that come after me. And there's a lot of surreal enemies and a lot of surreal things that happen. But I gotta say, at the end of the day, did I have fun with this game? Was it fun? Was it worth the time to play it? Yes. Yes, it was. I think the gameplay is tight. I think the controls work really well. I think that the city environment is interesting. I'm not going to go on and on about the graphics, but that's one of the letdowns here a little bit. But with that being said, there's a lot of different graphic modes you can play with within this game to get it optimized the way you want. And I gotta say, during the game, I played with all of these different modes and I was switching back and forth, and you'll probably see that in the video a little bit. So I go back and forth between different modes, but there's a quality mode in there and it has 30 FPS, 30 frames a second, but it has really high resolution graphics. And of course, there's a performance mode in there. And that's the mode I was actually enjoying playing quite a bit, and that's 60 frames a second, but of course you have lower resolution. And then you have the high frame rate mode, which is kind of uncapped, and it has some tweaks in there for the graphics, and you can get your frame rate even higher than 60 frames a second at certain times. But everything else is working for me, and I really like that this is a very Japanese game. and it really shows in all of its side of things. Yes, it takes place in Tokyo, but it's so mirrored with a lot of Japanese folklore and things from the past in there, with a lot of other things thrown in, with a lot of horror elements thrown in, and I really enjoy the world setting of this game. And yeah, in the end of the day, it was up my alley to play this game. It was. At first I was like, I don't know, but in the end of the day, when I came out of it at the end, I'm like, you know what? I'm having a bit of fun here, and I like my escapism into this world. That is for sure. So anyways, guys, until next time.